All right, so we're on the phone with the guys from the one, the only Set for the Fall, and it's the first time for them being on the show, so we're very excited to get to know both Donovan and Harrison from the band, and we're going to talk about all sorts of fun stuff. But first off, how's it going, guys?
Pretty good, man.
Awesome.
It's good, man.
Cool. So now, where are you guys at right now?
We're out of North Carolina.
North Carolina, sir.
Fantastic. So not too far away because we're in Nashville right now, so kind of in the same general plane there. First off, tell us a little bit about Set for the Fall and kind of where you guys have come from to get where you're at now, just kind of a little brief band history.
Well, before I joined the band, me and Donovan are actually kind of like the newish members of the band, but before it kind of started out as one of the old guitarists. He had a certain vision for what he wanted to do. You know, he had a message. He wanted to, there wasn't a lot of good Christian rock bands out there that he knew of.
Right.
And he really wanted to just everything he wanted, because you hear certain Christian rock bands and you're like, man, this is kind of cheesy. This is kind of, I wouldn't listen to this. Why would I want to listen to this when I could listen to, secular music? So he wanted to kind of create something that anybody could listen to.
Right.
And it had a good message to it. So that's kind of how it started. And then he got a few guys together and they kind of they did the garage band thing for a while. And then that's when I came around and we started doing more like bigger shows and stuff. Like we opened up for a couple big bands, and then we opened up for Disciple and Decipher Down and stuff like that. And that's when we kind of started getting our name around our town a little bit better. So yeah, I mean, it pretty much just started out as a garage band, man. A garage band with like a singular vision of what we wanted to accomplish, like what we wanted to do.
Okay, nice. So now both of you guys play guitar in the band. So what is the band lineup now? Because it sounds like that it's changed a little bit from when it very first got started. So who all's in the band at this point?
Yeah, it was right now it's a 4-piece. Actually a 3-piece right now.
Okay.
It's me and Harrison on guitars, and then Joey, he's a vocalist, and we just hire on a drummer to tour with us. We have one guy with us that's been with us for a little bit. He's just not official right now. We're letting him play with us for a little bit and see how he likes to tour life with us. And if he likes it and everything works out, then he might be official, but that's for longer down the road.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. So now what is the deal with drummers? I mean, it seems like it's like drummers and bass players are always seems to be, whenever I talk to a band, that's like the worst ones to be able to nail down to where it's like they're in the band and like they stay and they don't for some reason leave or get booted. Or I'm not trying to infer any reason why you guys don't have a permanent drummer. I'm just more or less I guess I'm just making conversation, but is there been some sort of like ongoing thing with a drummer with you guys, or is it just kind of happens to just coincidentally be that?
Well, we had a drummer. He was one of the original members who founded the band, but he recently last tour he stepped down. It was just differences and stuff. We still love him, and he's a good friend of ours still. But just sometimes things just don't work out.
Right.
And, other times it's hard to find somebody who's a perfect fit.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
so, sometimes, because there's good bass players and there's good drummers, but it's sometimes hard to find a good Christian drummer or a good Christian bass player who has your vision in mind too,
Right.
Yep. And as far as bass players too, they're just like a rarity to find nowadays. Like everybody's a guitar player. Either we get a guitar player and just make him a bass player.
Yeah.
We're never really like a legit bass player alone.
And I know what you mean. It does seem like that tends to be the case a lot. Like you'll hear about so and so is playing bass now in this band. He's really a guitarist, but he plays bass in this band because that's what's needed.
Yeah.
And it's weird, and it's also kind of funny because and this is not to say anything bad about bass players or people who even don't want to play bass. Either way, it's neither nor, but it always does feel like there's some level of, especially if you are a guitarist, there's some level of, I don't want to just play bass because bass is a whole lot simpler in some ways. I mean, I know that bass players are probably wanting to reach through the radio and smack me about now, like, no, it takes a different kind. You have to have the rhythm down, and I get that. I mean, I own a bass guitar. I don't play bass, but I own one. And that's about as far as it ever got. I think I can play Southtown by POD and like 2 other songs, and that's about it. But the basics, the canon right there. So I can play Smoke on the Water, because you have to learn how to play that, right? I mean, that's just kind of a given. I couldn't be that big of a failure and not even learn how to play that. But yeah, that's cool though. That's cool. So now, when you guys are playing shows now, are you guys how are you guys handling the bass duties? Are you guys just kind of letting it go without, or are you doing that tracked? How are y'all handling that?
We use tracks right now. We actually had a bass player on the tour. We hired a bass player for our recent tour, Seventh Day Slumber. He's actually going to be our new drummer. So.
Oh, okay.
So we're just gonna roll. Yeah, we're gonna roll with the bass tracks for now.
Yeah.
And the cool thing with bass tracks is our bass player is always on.
That's right. He's tight. He's tight. Yeah, because I remember the last time I talked with, well, I guess it was time before last. I was talking with Kevin from Disciple, and I was like, so what's the deal with the bass player? He goes, well, we've got a bass player. He's full time. His name is Mac. He's never off. He sits on the stage, just on a stool over to the side. But man, he's dead on all the time. And I was thinking about it for a second. I'm like, you mean your computer? He goes, yeah, it's a Mac laptop. That's our bass player right now. And I was like, oh, okay, well, hey, it's one less person I have to split the take for the night with, and if it works, it works, and and I mean, if you haven't found that right person, yeah, well, that's okay, There's nothing wrong with that. You do what you got to do, man. You do what you got to do. Oh man,
rock and roll, bro.
That's right. Nothing unrock and roll about a tracked bass, man. There you go. It doesn't jump around as much, but man, it holds down the bass line you wouldn't believe.
That's the one thing I love about having the no bass player right now, is it just looks symmetrical. Because Joey's in the middle, and me and Harrison are on each side. So I just like the way it looks.
Yeah. Without muddying up the stage with some fourth guy who doesn't need to be there. It's like, if we were to get this kind of symmetry, we would have to add 2 more members, and then it just gets crowded and
we don't play big enough shows to do this, so whatever. Just sample it. Who needs a bass player?
I know.
That's right.
You guys. It was funny for this tour. Like for this tour we're on with Seventh Day Slumber, like the guys that we hired on for bass, I kept feeling I was going to hit him with my guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was busy jumping around, and I was just always like an inch away from his face, and I would jump off something.
Oh, no. Oh, no. See, now that's not a good feeling for anybody, man. But it does keep the drama going on stage. I'll give you that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were never used to it either. Like, we've been without a bass player for like 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
So we're just used to the track. So it's just hard. It got hard when we had the bass player, especially playing some huge shows and festivals and stuff. We were just like, wow, okay, I hope I don't smack him in the face
right
today.
Oh no. Yeah, because I mean that just throws off the whole kind of internal band choreography. I mean, not that you guys are mapping out every step, but you kind of know where you're gonna go, and then you add somebody else who's not as much in sync with all that, and that could be dangerous. I feel you, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh man. Well, speaking of festivals, I mean, we've been kind of dancing around this thus far, but one of the big reasons why we're having you on this week is you guys won a really big contest that kind of came out of, I didn't know this was a thing, and then I saw that you guys won it, and I was like, I've heard of these guys before, but I know I'm gonna have to check them out now. I was like, I can't put this off any longer. They've won this big contest, so tell listeners a little bit about what the contest was, and then tell us how it went.
Oh, it's a contest that's put on by the Christian Festival Association, and pretty much it's like they do there's about 39 festivals, I believe, that fall underneath it, which is across the U.S. and it goes from Creation to Hills Alive and all the big Kingdom Bound big festivals around. Mm-hmm. And basically those festivals go through that organization, and they put on these contests for each individual festival, and whoever wins that contest for that festival plays on the main stage for that selected festival.
Yeah, we won Kingdom Bound last year, this year, and we got to play Kingdom Bound in June?
I think so. Yeah.
So when we won Kingdom Bound, we get put in another competition to open for all the festivals. So
right, and that second competition is between all the winners of the festivals. That's solicited with that organization. I think there was 12, I believe, finalists, and we got put down into the final 3. When I got that email, we were all ecstatic about it. We're like, oh man, this is huge. And then me and Harrison were actually in Nashville eating lunch, and I got the phone call from them and saying that we won it, and it was like just to be in Nashville to get that phone call was just crazy, because it was wow. this is really ridiculous.
Nice. So now, I mean, do you guys feel like, and like I said, I was unaware of this as being like a bigger competition. I've heard of some of the smaller ones, just kind of when individual bands would be in the running for like, like, oh, we might be able to play main stage at this one festival if we win this. And so I've heard about the smaller, kind of the preliminaries for these contests, but I've never heard about the overall one. Did you guys have any feel for what kind of acts had won this sort of thing before, or the ones that you were up against this year?
We had no idea. We honestly had no idea. We were like, we didn't even know we were in the top 3 until like we had no idea we had even won any type of we didn't know we were in the top 3 or anything. We didn't even know we were in the top of anything. So when we found that out, we were like, oh wow, okay, when did that happen? How did that happen? So yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Now that that's happened, I mean, do you guys see like the future looking any differently for the band now that you guys have kind of gotten this big recognition
absolutely.
on this?
Yes.
Absolutely, dude. It's been crazy. Like we, this was our first tour with 7 Day Slumber and Ashes Remain, and that was huge for us. Because I mean, personally, I grew up listening to Ashes Remain, and 7 Day Slumber was always on the radio and stuff. And it was just crazy because that was a huge stepping stone for us. Playing Kingdom Bound was a huge stepping stone for us, and then we went on tour with Ashes Remain and 7 Day Slumber, and that was huge for us too. For this to happen, it's just like it's hard to get through the door. Trying not to have a big head,
No, I know what you mean. I mean, it's nice to be able to get that kind of acknowledgement, and I know that sometimes it seems like I think everybody kind of has kind of this attitude towards contests like that where it's like, well, it shouldn't matter that much, maybe it was just this or maybe it was just that, it probably isn't that big of a deal, but I don't care who you are. You win a contest like that, and I think you should not necessarily let it go to your head, but I mean that means something, and it's nice to get that kind of affirmation that you guys are doing, not just doing it, but you're doing it well, and you're doing it better at least than a big subset of the other people who are also doing it.
The one thing that I was kind of like worried about was just that our style of music is a lot harder than the Christian contemporary music, like on K-Love and all that stuff. And there was a lot of bands that was entered into this contest that were really, really good. They were more like worship sounding or more towards like the Manic Drive side.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have that more festival type feel, like the ones you would hear, like Colton Dixon and those big band, Mandisa, Toby Mac. So when we were entered in this thing, I was like, man, it'd be awesome to win it, but we're not really in that sort of genre, like that you usually see at festivals. But to be able to win it was just an awesome feeling, just knowing that. Because the reason why we play our music is it's more harder and it's more raw for like, just to show that Christian music doesn't have to be this certain style.
Yeah.
Like Christian music can be rock, like Memphis Mayfire and all those awesome bands that are like in the metal side. Like they have all these awesome messages in their lyrics, and we're just happy that our music was selected and our band style was selected for these awesome festivals. And it's just a huge opportunity for us, and we're grateful and completely blessed to have this opportunity for us.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, now currently you guys have an EP out that's called 3 Nails. How long has this one been out?
It's actually a full length album.
Oh, okay.
Got 10 songs on it.
Cool.
Yeah. It's been out since February 6th of this year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So about almost a year. Yep.
Okay, nice. So now what were you, now you guys had mentioned that y'all were somewhat more recent additions to the band. Were you guys involved in the recording of this one?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, fantastic.
Yeah, we both were.
Sorry, I usually know a little bit more going into these things, so I'm having to ask some some stupid questions. So what was the experience like recording this record?
It was so awesome because we actually went in, we recorded with Brandon Mills from the band Decipher Down.
Nice.
And if anybody knows any of us in the band, like they know we're huge Decipher Down fans.
Uh-huh.
So like Donovan had been, before he got in our band, he had been recording his own solo stuff with Brandon. Brandon had talked to us before because we played a couple shows with them, and he was like, "Hey, I really want to get you guys in the studio." And we were like, "Oh, whatever,
You say that.
I was like, "You're going to be too expensive, and you're going to change us, and whatever." That would be too much for us right now, just to be in the same room as Brandon from Decipher Down,
Right.
But we I don't know, we Donovan took us up to the studio. He took our singer up to the studio, and Joey called me. And he was like, "Oh, by the way, we're going to be recording here in 2 weeks, so you should get ready." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Nothing like a little heads up there.
Funny, like, yeah, it was pretty funny just to be there. Like when I was recording my stuff, like I would see Joey. He'd come back in the studio, he'd sit down, and he would just be like, "Oh man, these guitars sound so awesome," and he'd walk out, and then that's when he'd be calling Harrison, and he'd walk back in, and he'd be like, "Oh man, that's just so cool. This is awesome, man," and he'd walk back out. Like I think he called Harrison's name like 4 to 5 times that night, just talking about the studio itself.
Usually I would be upset at that, but this time it actually usually Joey only calls me when he's complaining about something. So.
I mean, you know how those lead singers can be.
Bro, there's no money in the account.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Oh, man. Well, now during the show, we're going to be playing a couple of songs from that record. We're going to play the title track, Three Nails, and then the current single, which is Rising. Tell us a little about the title track itself and kind of about the meaning behind the song and all that good stuff.
Well, Three Nails is about, you think you get to a certain place where you're content with how your life is and how your walk with Christ is, but you still have these demons that are just trying to hold you back and remind you of what you've done, what you did in your past. And if you've ever watched the music video for it, it pretty much paints the picture of what the song is about. But yeah, pretty much it's just about internal struggles.
Okay, nice. Also, of course, we're going to be playing the song Rising. Let's talk a little bit about that one.
Rising is a pretty cool song because a lot of our songs are written about personal experiences, and usually Joey writes all the lyrics. And usually he had a very troubled youth when he was growing up, and he was adopted and stuff, and he dealt with his parents being an issue and beatings and stuff. So a lot of our music is written about his childhood and his personal walk. But this song was the first song that we wrote about somebody else. We had this friend who, he owns a company called Warsport. Well, he did own a company called Warsport, which was a huge multi-million-dollar gun manufacturing company. He told us his story, and he was like, "I want you guys to write a song about this." And it was pretty much when he was a kid, he was bullied because, he had a Southern accent. He was short. He wasn't the popular kid, but as he grew up, and he was like, you're not going to tear me down. Like, I'm going to rise above this and become something more, with God's help, or with God doing everything. Of course, he became very successful doing what he loved doing. And he's actually like the commissioner of his town now. And it's just crazy how how his come up was. So we wrote that song. It's just about being talked down to, being bullied, and then rising above it.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So now you guys have won this contest. Y'all have played alongside some great bands and played at several big festivals and been on tour with Seventh-day Slumber and some others. Where do you guys see the band going from here?
I see us going as far as God will take us. I remember when we were talking one time when we were on the road, like right when I had joined the band, like the band started to take off. I'm not saying that it was me. I'm not saying that at all. But like it was like as soon as I joined up, it was like God was just like, all right, these guys are ready, and just like skyrocketed us out. Like we got that Kingdom Bound show, and then Jeremy from Seventh Day messaged Harrison saying, "Hey, you want to be on this tour with us?" And it was just like this past year, with the recording with Brandon and all that. This was all this past year that everything just kind of fell into place, and now we won this national competition. We're gonna keep pushing forward as far as he'll let us go.
Nice. Well,
definitely.
That's cool.
A good friend of mine. I was letting him listen to the demos when we first got them back. Like when we first got the full mastered thing of 4 of our songs, I think, and I was letting him hear it. And he's actually the guy who got me into playing music. He was a worship leader at my church, and I was like 12 years old. He allowed me to come up on stage with the worship team and let me jam with them, and it's how I developed my sound. And so I was letting him hear it because we only let a few friends a few friends and family listened to the songs before they came out, and he was listening, and he said the only person that could stop you from doing this for real is God. And that's pretty much stuck with me for, since we released the album. Like, you got to have God first in it, or he's not, he's what done all this for us.
Yeah.
He got us Kingdom Out. He got us on tour with 7 Day Slumber. It's nothing we've done. We've just tried to become a voice to what he's been telling us to do. So we don't really see ourselves as touring musicians. We're more of a ministry than anything, than a band.
So now, how do you feel like it's? How do you balance? At least just for the two of you, I know you guys probably can't speak for Joey and all of this, but speaking for just the two of yourselves, I mean, how do you feel like it's? How do you feel like you guys find that balance of being, a band up on stage, rocking out, putting all of the energy into playing great music and doing it well, with it being a ministry? Because I know it seems like as time goes on, it feels like for some bands that becomes maybe more challenging to keep that balance, and then for others it seems to just fall into a nice groove where it becomes second nature. But for you guys, how do you feel like you balance doing something that is very much performance based and in the public eye with being a minister to people for Jesus? How does that balance come for the two of you?
We don't preach on stage. That's just something we don't do, because we do play a lot of bars and secular places too. Like, we don't just play Christian shows. So, we definitely stay respectful of everybody's beliefs and stuff. But if our main ministry is when you see us off stage, like, we let the words for the songs do the talking. We're very, we tell you our faith in our songs, but we don't shove anything down your throat. We're very, we try to be as respectful as we can be, because not everybody believes the same things we do. Our main ministry is off stage. Like, when you come meet us at the merch table, if somebody asks, hey, what's this song about? I'll tell you what it's about. There's just been some people that hardcore atheists and stuff that have come up to us at shows and asked us what songs we're about, and then asked us to pray for them afterwards. It's crazy what God can do through music.
Yeah, for sure. And it is funny how music can speak on that level. It's kind of hard to put a finger on why music can be that instrument to kind of weave their way into somebody's mind and heart in a way that just a spoken word doesn't. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
For me, the way my perspective on it is, like, my personal perspective is, like, music is like a universal language, like you were just saying. It's easier for us to be able to be on stage and put on that performance, and to also be off stage and to be the ministry side of it, which is talking to the people at the merch tables, and we want to prove to people that being Christian is hard. Like, everybody has their fallings and their backsliding on stuff, but to have that heart of humility and be able to admit your fault, to God, and say, like, I know I messed up today, but I'm not going to do that. I want to change from that. I want to be something different, and I know you're going to be there to help me through each step of the way back to that right path, because God is always there for you. Like, even if you were to take a right turn when he told you to keep going straight, he'll be waiting for you at the end of the road to guide you back. And I'm not saying he's there that you need to take advantage of him, like, in any way, but just to be able to admit your faults to God and to ask for forgiveness and come back to that lifestyle of living for his glory and all that. That's what we try to prove, is you're not supposed to be this perfect person that does all these things and never messes up. Like, you're asked to be Christ-like. And that's why we go to bars and we sing there, because, Jesus went to the sinners. He didn't go to the church and preach to the choir or nothing. Like, he went to the sinners themselves and preached God's word to him. And he got his disciples and he got his following, and people hated him for that. Like he said, people might hate you, but remember that they hated me first. That's what he said in the Bible and stuff. So for us, it's kind of easy to be able to do that, because we have that mentality to show that we're all not perfect, but we're trying to be Christ-like for the kingdom.
Very cool. Very cool. I can get down with that. That's nice. Sweetness. So now, is there anything else that you guys wanna add, either about something coming up or on the horizon, or anything that we didn't touch on that you want to make sure that listeners know about?
Well,
We're trying to find booking agents if anybody's out there listening.
Okay, fair enough.
It's really hard. It's really hard to I mean, right now I'm like the acting booking agent guy, and like I just don't get I don't get how they do this stuff. This stuff is stressful.
Yes, so I hear. I've had a few people try to pull me into that before, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really think that's my gift. No, I'm just gonna say no.
Mhm.
So yeah, I feel you. Cool. So looking for a booking agent, looking to play more shows. Obviously, if you're looking for a booking agent, so you guys are based out of North Carolina,
Yeah.
so people around the South and the Southeast, jump on board.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're trying to shoot for a spring tour, maybe March, April
Okay.
area. Hopefully, everybody look out for that. So hopefully that'll happen before we hit all these festivals. And if you're near a festival that we're playing, definitely come check us out. I mean, come check all the bands out for sure, but we'd love to talk to you.
Excellent. Cool deal, guys. Well, thank you so much for calling in and giving us kind of a glimpse into what things are like and getting to know you guys as a band and as people. And it's been fun. And I know that we'll end up doing this again sometime in the near future, but I'm excited for the success that you guys have had thus far. And I know that it's going to be just kind of the beginnings of sorts. And we'll look forward to seeing what's next.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, man.